Chapter 256. At night, after the brief hustle and bustle at the campsite, the respective class form teachers quickly allocated the tents to everyone. Thereafter, the campsite momentarily quietened down. Everyone wouldn't forget that their original purpose for coming was to practice. The non-Yuzhou Dao Yuan class students were already aware of the treatment of students from Yuzhou. Upon practicing outside the remains, they had to achieve a realm which was more significant than students from other areas. This prompted several people to think that it would be a blessing if the remains appeared in their own provinces. Of course, such thoughts have left them conflicted since the remains represented danger. Gao Shinin and Jiang Shui had started practicing long ago. Both of them had attained the mysterious Dao chapter Class D craft and still had a long way walking down the Class D journey. If they could practice till mid-tier Class D in this attempt outside of the remains, it would save them a lot of time in the future. It was different from Chen Zuan. He had been stuck in the great consummation of Class E. This attempt was also a military order established with his clan to move up the military rank and acquire the next step of the craft. The clan itself existed as a hierarchical pyramidal structure. The highest level managed the economy and power of the clan. The rest then survived under them. In the end, the younger generation would have to rely on their own efforts and assistance from the elders to smoothly complete the exchange of powers. This would then be counted as the true continuation of a clan. In this world, in every 10 years or so, there would be clans that flourished and those that crumbled. Once the power was lost in whichever generation, that would be when it would start to crumble. Chen Zuan and the rest of the younger generation practitioners knew clearly that the future was uncertain, and they had to strive hard to maintain their clan's prosperity. However, since the great summation of Class E was attained, there was no need to think about practice every now and then. Chen Zuan simply did not understand and asked Lu Shu, "Superior brother? Do you truly not have to practice a while? The remains have such good conditions? Isn't your level of practice just Class F?" Straight flush. Upon finishing his statement, Chen Zuan pulled out the poker cards from his hand to rid them. Lu Shu muttered as he looked at the cards in his hand, crushing death, "It's okay. There is no need to train. Just be more awake next time and it'll be fine." Lu Xiaoyu glanced at the cards on her hand, "Don't want." Once again, Chen Zuan drew a set of AKQJ-10 straight flush from his deck and rid it. He felt a little uneasy after hearing Lu Shu's words, since when did being awakened become so easy? From Chen Zuan's distress, plus 99. Joker Bomb. The Joker Bomb Lu Xiaoyu pulled out busted Chen Zuan's straight flush. Puff. Chen Zuan spat out a mouthful of blood. "Xiaoyu, can this still be played? Both of us are peasants. Lu Shu is the landlord. Why did you bust me?" From Chen Zuan's distress, plus 199. Lu Xiaoyu darted a look at him, "So what if I busted you?" "So what if I busted you?" "So what if this was busting a teammate? What do you think? Was there still sportsmanship?" From Chen Zuan's distress, plus 666. "I'm not playing anymore, not playing anymore. I don't dare to provoke, don't dare to provoke." Chen Zuan threw his cards aside and conceded defeat. He then stood at his position to rotate 10 rounds. This was their forfeit for losing the card game. It was originally discussed that they wanted to have a small stake in Doudiju, $1 each round. In the end, Lu Shu said minimum gambling entertained, excessive gambling harmed. $1 per round was too much, he would not play. At that point, Chen Zuan almost choked on the retrograde magical energy. After Lu Shu and Lu Xiaoyu seamlessly defeated Chen Zuan utterly, Lu Shu suddenly felt that having a stake in the game was not a big deal. Lu Xiaoyu would attack Chen Zuan no matter as a peasant or a landlord. Chen Zuan put down his cards and became curious suddenly. "Brother Lu Shu, are you not planning to walk down the journey of practice? Awakening is actually a difficult matter. Not difficult, Lu Shu said gladly. According to typical circumstance, pursuing awakening itself if there was no practice would be very difficult. After all, it required mental stimulation to work. For now, the heavenly network had not found out a better method. According to what Chen Zuan knew, the heavenly network had tried many methods like electric shocking, bungee jumping, parachute jumping, and directly pushing someone off the cliff, which had been equipped with protective measures. However, the end results were unsuccessful. Again, not all failed, but the rate of success was very low. There was no feasible method which could be promoted. However, it was good that the awakening class could be leveled up along with moral cultivation. What about practitioners? For instance, it didn't mean that Chen Zuan can stop practicing after he became a contender of the Great Summation of Class E. He still had to spend some time every day to practice a big cycle to stabilize his own realm. Practicing required consistent effort. To all, practicing every day was a mandatory homework. This was Chen Zuan's past belief until he met Lu Shu. Yet, what plans did Lu Shu have? He could not possibly stay in the tent and sing "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star." Frankly speaking, Lu Shu was even hoping that a commonly hated contender would suddenly appear in the tent. This would allow him to play the old trick and launch a suicide attack. His distress would at least be increasing. It was a pity that it was unreal. Chen Zuan did earn some distress from playing pokers, but the game had already stopped. He suddenly asked curiously, "Zuan, you're aware of a lot of matters. Have you heard of the matter pertaining to the heavenly king who is leading the troop?" Lu Shu questioned in this way to understand the characteristics of this heavenly king. Lu Shu didn't have a visualized impression as Li Xianyi gave an ambiguous explanation. Chen Zuan pondered a while. "Actually, I do not know much. I only know that the temper of this heavenly king isn't very good. Please do not trigger him. Most importantly, do not speak foreign languages in front of him." Don't speak foreign languages in front of him? Lu Shi looked stunned. Is there an explanation for this? There's no way to know. Just avoid using, else the consequences may be dire, especially mixing both Mandarin and English. Chen Zuan commented as he looked stern. Mixing both. Were you attempting to sell hulatang bean curd? Why was everyone simply saying the heavenly king didn't have a good temper? Let's drop the conversation. I shall practice a few big cycles a while to stabilize the realm before sleeping. I'll not be able to sleep again upon receiving the craft from the mysterious Tao chapter, Chen Zuan whispered before climbing up to his bed. Lu Shu took a glance at Lu Xiaoyu. Let's go and wander outside. Sure. It just so happens that the searchlight is lighting up the surface of the lake. Help me take some photos on the Chaka Salt Lake. I want those that look good. Lu Xiaoyu said. Which past photo shoots of you did not look good? Lu Shu wasn't happy. Just at this moment, Lu Shu suddenly received Shifei's notification on the Dao Yuan class group chat. From today onwards, the internal department of Heavenly Network will replace the ABDEF grading system for the aptitude of abilities with I234V6. I will replace A, and so on. Chapter 257. When Lu Shu saw this piece of news, he was stunned for a while. In the past, everyone did discuss about how it was quite inadequate to use ABDEF to grade experience and strength, but no one wanted this system to be replaced. Anyways, it is up to the higher-ups. The whole world used this system to differentiate individuals' abilities. However, now that first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth grades are used to differentiate abilities, it is indeed more comprehensive. Whatever, said Lu Shu with a sigh. Most people knew what heavenly stems were and knew that first, second, third, fourth were the top 4 heavenly stems. To be honest, very few knew what the next few ranks were. Just like Lu Shu, he did not know that after first, second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth existed. Therefore, he was then the rank 6th, which very few people heard of. It felt weird. It felt as though something was messed up. Lu Xiaoyu, who was beside him, saw the message on the domestic magical device and asked, Lu Shu, so what is your ability like now? Ahem, go, let's go take a walk. Lu Shu held Lu Xiaoyu and walked out of the tent. Chen Zuan, who was behind him, suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Lu Shu walking out, as he always felt that this young man was not as simple as he thought. How was he not simple? Chen Zuan was in deep thought. Right, calmness. Chen Zuan himself saw how even Jiang Shui and Gao Shinin, these 2 D-grade Daoyuan class youth experts, looked nervous in the relics. Although Jiang Shui and Gao Shinin were peacefully practicing, Gao Shinin was nervous and uneasy yet excited when they were talking previously. Lu Shu was different. In Chen Zuan's impression, Lu Shu was too calm. Even Lu Xiaoyu was very calm. Furthermore, Chen Zuan thought Lu Shu was recruited by Jiang Shui. After all, every family had someone like that. He even thought if Lu Shu had applied for a bodyguard to protect him but was rejected by his father so that he could learn to be independent. However, it seemed that Lu Shu and Jiang Shui were only close friends. Someone who was confident he could continue awakening without family ties, yet with the worse abilities of 6th grade? It was getting interesting. Lu Shu held Lu Xiaoyu's hand and walked towards Chakayan Lake. In fact, the camping site was right beside the tent. In the end, before they took a photo, Lu Shu froze. He saw a Daoist beside the white salt pond struggling to do a handstand with his body swaying. It seemed like he was falling asleep with the horsetail whisk in his embrace. His entire body's energy waves were so strong as though there was no end to them. Standing beside the salt pond, Lu Shu felt as small as a speck of dust. Lu Shu felt this exact same feeling when he stood beside Li Xian. That was the old Taoist, Chen Bailey, an authentic master, a B-grade expert. It was only that day did he learn from Chen Zuan that this master was called Chen Bailey. In Lu Shu's memory, he seemed to have received distress values from Chen Bailey before, but when he thought about it, he felt that it was caused by the seal of lands, so he did not think further. Then again, he did not recognize a lot of the names in the records of those who provided him with distress values. Lu Shu turned around and wanted to leave with Lu Xiaoyu, but Chen Bailey spoke, Come, who said you can leave? Lu Shu was dumbfounded. Suddenly silence fell. Lu Shu still did not know how to react at that moment. He looked around and indeed, only Lu Xiaoyu and him were there. Just then, Chen Bailey was slightly impatient. I'm speaking to you. How may I help you, master? Lu Shu moved over carefully. Chen Bailey turned and looked at him. You are Lu Shu, right? How do you know my name? Lu Shu was extremely surprised as he and Chen Bailey never met, so how did he know that he was Lu Shu? Chen Bailey stood beside the salt pool and said, Li Xiao mentioned you. You are pretty good, continue to do your best in this relic. Oh, so he heard Li Xiao mentioned, but still it was not right. Just by hearing from someone, how did he knew it was him? Lu Shu suddenly thought that perhaps Chen Bailey was waiting for him there. He carefully asked, Is there anything else? Yes, Chen Bailey closed his eyes. Why did that monk from Kumbum Monastery chased you out of Dakinwat's temple? Lu Shu was shocked that the master even knew about the incident. He was not worried if there was Heavenly Network's people there, but was afraid that Chen Bailey saw him chased out of the monastery by the monk but did not know what happened in there. He did not hide anything, as after all, he was not the only one who knew it, and the skeleton would be out of the closet, so he said factually. He said that I was haunted by karma and asked me to wait for Rinpoche at Kumbum Monastery. Rubbish, said Chen Bailey with disdain as he suddenly opened his eyes. The sky rumbled and the birds flying across immediately fell dead from the sky. What a strong atmosphere of anger. Lu Shu almost peed in his pants. Was that really someone who practiced peace and calmness? Chen Bailey toned down, don't believe him, just continue practicing practically. Throughout the practicing journey, who hasn't killed several others? Just answerable to yourself. Yes, you're right, Master, Lu Shu was slightly worried that he would beat someone up. I admire what you did in the Beimang relics. Are you willing to become my disciple? I, Chen Bailey, will teach you all that I know, Chen Bailey said calmly. Lu Shu was enlightened. This was why Chen Bailey waited for him here. He wanted to take Lu Shu as his disciple. However, what did Chen Bailey see in him? Definitely not because of his gold chain and watch fashion sense, right? For now, I have no intention. Lu Shu rejected him halfway and saw Chen Bailey sway the horsetail whisk and said, no issue, it is up to you, direct and simple. Very good. Then, Chen Bailey turned and looked at Lu Xiaoyu, little girl, are you willing to become my disciple? No, said Lu Xiaoyu simple. From Chen Bailey's distress, plus 211. Lu Shu found it weird that when he rejected Chen Bailey he did not give off any signs of distress, and yet when Xiaoyu rejected him, he was distressed. He actually wanted to take Lu Xiaoyu as his disciple? The old Taoist, Chen Bailey, kept quiet for a while. Nowadays, do young people reject others so directly? Lu Shu was speechless. Chen Bailey was the one who said it was up to him and that being direct and simple was good. Wasn't he contradicting himself? Chapter 258. Can't you at least conceal your desire to only accepting Lu Xiaoyu as disciple? Chen Bailey did not seem to be at a loss. Since Lu Xiaoyu was not willing, he did not press the matter further. Suddenly, Chen Bailey asked if the joke about Li Yixiao's name was from Lu Shu. From Chen Bailey's distress, plus 399. Lu Shu gave a start. What kind of idea is this? The heck? Could it be that when Chen Bailey provided the distress points a few days back, it was not because the seal of lands went missing, but because Li Yixiao went fooling around with the old Taoist priest? He answered with a soft yes. Chen Bailey furrowed his brows, don't teach other things anymore. Okay, Lu Shu nodded. In an instant, he felt that something was amiss. Why were the distress points of a higher value than when Lu Xiaoyu refused to have Chen Bailey as her master? Damn, so Chen Bailey's real aim was to warn me not teach Li Yixiao the wrong proverbs again? How badly did Li Yixiao anger Chen Bailey then? Isn't this the proverbial at taking bullets even when lying down? Before Lu Shu could even react, Chen Bailey had already shut his eyes again. Go on, the remain is opening soon. Spend your time on your practicing, don't wander around anymore. This is totally climbing over people. However, just as Lu Shu was about to bring Lu Xiaoyu away, Chen Bailey, the old priest, suddenly exclaimed, little girl, what is your awakening power? Maybe you can hide this from others, but not this old priest here. The breathing rhythms and gait of normal humans are disorderly, that is because they don't have the foundation of power. Lu Shu, how long can you hide this from the heavenly network? Lu Shu felt his chest constricting. He did not expect the old priest to pay such close attention to details. He could actually tell that Lu Xiaoyu has superhuman power just by such small things like her breathing and gait. In actual fact, Lu Shu did think about this point. Lu Xiaoyu's power was already on par with that of a Class D medium-level awakened person. If not for those with trained eyes, she could be passed off as having just Class F powers. However, it would not be such a good idea to still claim that Lu Xiaoyu was just an ordinary person when in front of such a master. Yet, if Chen Bailey could discover that, so should Li Xianyi. However, Li Xianyi never brought up this issue. Suddenly, Chen Bailey spoke, the little girl's blood sample has already been tested. There is no longer any need for you to conceal anything for her. What can we do with her? There is more than one teenage awakened one in the country, what's there to hide? Yes, you are right, Lu Shu nodded. Chen Bailey nodded in satisfaction. What is her level of awakening, Class F or E? Power system, already Class D. Lu Shu thought, you are already so frank, it isn't right for me not to give you Lu Xiaoyu's true class level. Chen Bailey was once again silent for a long time upon hearing this. Little girl, if you accept me formally as your teacher, nobody in this country would dare harass you. Do you wish to? No, I don't, Lu Xiaoyu rejected outright once again. From Chan Bailey's Distress, plus 699. If you become my student, I'll give you a magic weapon. No. From Chan Bailey's Distress, plus 799. Chan Bailey looked up at the black sky. For a moment, he could not think of any better conditions. He had known previously that the girl beside Lu Shu has great aptitude for abilities, but the more crucial point was to know that this girl was definitely awakened. At this point in time, nothing else mattered. Only people at his level would know what awakening at 10 years of age entails. The endowment tested using sodium-potassium alloy is root and bone. On the other hand, an awakened one below the age of 16 means a certain level of intelligence. The younger one is the person, the more genius he or she is. In the cultivation technique system under Shi Xuejin, intelligence was actually not important, because what he pursued was a speedily formed team for the country. As long as their aptitude for abilities was sufficient, Class B could be achieved. However, Chen Bailey set his sights higher. Class B is certainly strong, but he had long since fixed his sight on the Class A level. Class B could perhaps be achieved by cultivation technique and magical energy, but to reach Class A would require intelligence. This was an unsurmountable threshold for anyone even till now. In the country, the four of them, Chen Bailey, Mia Ting, Li Xianyi and Feng Yeming, had the highest chance. However, Mia Ting was preoccupied with trifles, whereas Feng Yeming viewed cultivation as a hobby. Chen Bailey and Li Xianyi, on the other hand, took cultivation seriously. Unfortunately, due to having overstretched themselves in their early days, their foundations were damaged. Though still possessing the intelligence to understand the laws of heaven and earth, their bodies could no longer take the sheer power of the laws. All he could do now was lament. His greatest wish was to find a teenager capable of crossing over the threshold into Class A. This was why Chen Bailey had his passion rekindled upon seeing an awakened Lu Xiaoyu at 10 years old. It was not that being unawakened meant there was no chance to become Class A. Chen Bailey and Li Xianyi were both not awakened ones. It was simply that to be an awakened person, he or she would stand a higher chance. Just like Li Xianyi, Chen Bailey did not have much time left. However, Lu Xiaoyu was not willing to accept him as her teacher. The old priest felt his temper rising. He asked, slightly angered, "Why do you not want to accept me as your teacher? I heard from people that you have a bad temper." Lu Xiaoyu replied. From Chan Bailey's Distress, plus 999. Who told you that? Tell him to come here. Chan Bailey was enraged. Some distance away, Chen Zuan suddenly felt a chill. He found it baffling. As a Class E, why was he still feeling the chill? Once again, birds in the sky fell by the dozens. However, bad temper was merely Lu Xiaoyu's excuse. If she accepts Chen Bailey as her teacher, she would surely have to leave Luo Chang. Lu Shu had said, they just bought a house and should not leave. Also, leaving with this priest would mean she could no longer be with Lu Shu. Now, she simply had to sleep to become stronger. Why must she go through hardships and sufferings? Lu Shu had never forced her to do cultivations. Thick white fog suddenly started emanating from the Chaka Salt Lake. Chen Bailey spun around and bellowed, "The remain is opening soon, everyone gather." The old priest's sonorous voice seemed to travel for miles. In an instant, a flurry of activities could be seen in at the tents and countless people started emerging from them. All the form teachers in the Heavenly Network started to organize their own students. Following that, the soldiers started to keep the supplies and ensure all practitioners were provided them. The previous time, everyone suffered as supplies were not provided when the Beimang remain opened. Hence, this time supplies were well prepared. Field ration was given out in 15-day packs, and everyone was given a green field pack. In a moment, The originally disorganized group of Daoyuan students seemed as if they were transformed into a battalion of soldiers ready to move out. Lu Shu held Lu Xiaoyu's small hand and gazed into the distance at the fog-covered surface of the salt lake. The remain was finally about to open. Chapter 259. Billowing fog pervaded outwards as all the searchlights in the camp were trained upon the depths of the salt pool. Is this the remains? Chen Zuan and Gao Shinin were already out of the tent and beside Lu Shu. Lu Shu and Jiang Shui actually had a very great advantage. They both went into the remains before and therefore were familiar with the grounds. At least, they did not appear alarmed. Everyone will appear in different places after entering the remains. Stay cautious. It is highly likely that danger will come to you once you enter, Lu Shu reminded the two new friends. He was worried that they would be brought down without even putting up a fight. He recalled vividly that the last time he entered the remains, an axe-wielding skeleton was right beside him. Chen Zuan rolled up his sleeves to show, deliberately or otherwise, his wristwatch. My skilled brother, if we meet in the remains. All's good, Lu Shu chuckled heartily. He paused for a thought, then asked suddenly, Zuan, you eat so much, what's your capabilities? Lu Shu saw Chen Zuan scoffing down chocolates and hardtack biscuits just now as he emerged. Someone who can eat so much is really rare nowadays. Chen Zuan thought for a long time, thinking that he should express some sincerity, but ultimately blurted out, don't laugh. My capability is not to feel hungry after stuffing myself full. Lu Shu, Jiang Shui and Gao Shinin were all stunned upon hearing this. Lu Shu pondered for a long while before saying, Zuan, to be no longer feeling hungry after becoming full is a given, not some special capability. From Chen Zuan's distress, plus 123. Chen Zuan replied with a sore face, if I am sufficiently fed, I can go without food for 15 days. This capability, Lu Shu thought for a long while but could find no way to comfort him. This capability is indeed good. Chen Zuan's face is already darkened, can you be more perfunctory? Lu Shu was still thinking while speaking. This E-class bloke can already last 15 days, so will he be able to last 50 days without food after eating his fill when he becomes a D-class? All the students of the Daoyuan class had begun falling in according to their formation. The class form teachers were pointing out various important things to note as they shouldered their green backpacks. All the formations were orderly save for Lu Shu's group, which stood by the side in stark disarray. Many were muttering, curious about their identities. Why is there even a young girl among them? Chen Zuan suddenly asked, hey, skilled brother, what about Xiaoyu? We can ask the unit to help look after her, they aren't entering. You little fatty, just mind your own business, my little sister is of a higher class than you. A voice came from behind Chen Zuan. Just as he was about to retort in anger, Chen Bailey walked past. Lu Shu and the others looked on as Chen Zuan's face flushed beet red. Second master, you are berating. If you dare to bring shame to me, I'll kick your head off, Chen Bailey said, before walking towards the depths of the salt pool. He was actually entering the remains of his own accords. Lu Shu and the others looked at Chen Zuan quizzically. How can this bloke be related to that old priest Heavenly King? Fatty, Lu Xiaoyu looked up and asked suddenly. Did you speak English in front of him? I did not. Chen Zuan replied, his face changing. Xiaoyu, why do you think that? Absolutely not. From Chen Zuan's distress, plus 599. Lu Shu chuckled. This is the look of one who have never done it? Only heaven would know what have you been through initially. At the point in time, the heavenly network had already brought the entire Daoyuan class towards the depths of the foggy salt pool. Compared to the passive involvement previously, this was a little more methodical. Well supplied and well prepared, even the students of the Daoyuan class experienced a slight shift in mindset. They should all understand that at this very point in time, they were not simply a student but a part of the nation's machinery. Let's go, Lu Shu said. He held on to Lu Xiaoyu and brought her towards the salt pool. Their backs shining brightly under the glare of the searchlights, it seemed almost as if the pair were the only two left in the world, other than little Xiongxiu. Jiang Shui ran up and joined alongside them. Chen Zuan, following behind, said incredulously, "Is Xiaoyu really of a higher class than me? In that case, isn't she a D class? Same as the two of you? If the Heavenly King says so, that it should be beyond doubt," Gao Shinin replied, then caught up with the group. "Wait for me." Lu Shu stood still before the thick fog. Turning around, he smiled, "Here's wishing all of you the best of luck. I'm glad to have met all of you upon my path of practition. Hope we can meet again." Chen Zuan and Gao Shinin were also silent for a moment. "Take care." Following that, Lu Shu took the lead and stepped into the rolling fog, never to be seen again. Lu Xiaoyu smiled. When they were young, if anyone at the welfare center ever bullied her, Lu Shu would ask her to step aside and help fight the bullies. When they were slightly older, Lu Shu would tell her to stay at home and be a good child before shouldering the heavy basket of cooked eggs to sell outside. This made Lu Xiaoyu feel bad, as if she can only be protected. It was really bad. She said softly, "Finally, I can fight alongside you." Lu Xiaoyu's words were too soft for Chen Zuan and the rest to hear in time before she placed little Xiongxiu on her head and stepped forth. The thick fog swallowed them whole before instantly reverting back. Jiang Shui, too, stepped into the remains behind Lu Shu and Lu Xiaoyu without a moment's hesitation. "Xiaoyu is braver than me," Chen Zuan rubbed his burning cheeks. "I shall go first too. Gao Shinin, don't look down on me. Let's see who earns more credit." In his 17 years of life, Chen Zuan had always been living in the shadows of his clan. He was denied the chance to do anything by everyone. Then, he was ordered what to do. Perhaps he would be just like the generation before him, stepping into the society under the watchful protection of the elders and let time pass like that. Just as he was thinking that his life would be just so, magical energy once again returned. Sometimes he would suddenly think, if I can be as capable as Second Master Chen Bailey, can I then break free from the family's bondage? Who can say for sure whether the family's survival mode is to disintegrate or to survive in a different way at a time, when the individual becomes infinitely strong? This is his very goal for coming here. The best era has arrived. Gao Shinin deliberated for a long time outside the remains. Of the 5 who came together, it was only him left. This fatty seems pretty good. Then, he smiled and walked in. Chapter 260. Where's this place? What should we do now? Upon entering the remains, what hit Lu Shu before he even opened his eyes were the clamor made by people around him. It seemed like all the students of the Daoyuan class were at a complete loss inside the remains. In actual fact, the Heavenly Network had given them ample reminders to take note of, such as preserving supplies and taking safety precautions. However, it did not provide them with the direction to stay or move, for every remains is a mystery to even the Heavenly Network before it was truly entered. All these were actually pretty interesting to Lu Shu. The last time he was here, he was alone and had to walk a long distance before meeting people. This time was better, he could be with the Daoyuan class students of Qingzhou for the whole way. Lu Shu pondered whether to leave the big group right now or tag along and see what's in store for them first. In the end, he decided to stay with the rest. This is a new remains after all. Jiang Shui also told him once that every remains is different and so are the capabilities of the organisms within. Taking for example the remains opened in Laos, they paled in comparison to that of the Beimang remains. There was not even one organism worthy of being labeled B-class encountered in the remains. Some have guessed that perhaps the organisms in the remains were determined by the process of revival of the magical energy tide. This would mean that this remains may be more difficult than the one before. If it was really of similar degree as the Beimang remains, Lu Shu felt that with his capabilities now, he would be badly wounded if not killed. As long as they did not come across the B-class ghost general, all should be fine. However, isn't it because of not knowing much about this remains? Lu Shu observed by the side in silence. They were now in a heavily forested wood. Among the shaking branches and thick leaves, visibility was greatly impeded. It was utterly impossible to make out the surroundings. All of a sudden, a thumb-sized mosquito landed silently on Lu Shu's neck. Its long proboscis was just about to pierce his skin. Ka! The proboscis was broken. From the mosquito's distress, +1 +1 +1. Lu Shu smacked it away gleefully. With this peak class D power, if I am still stung by a mosquito, how shameful would that be? However, Lu Shu was a little surprised to have all the mosquitoes here become demons. If I spare its life, it can continue contributing to the value of distress. Even though +1 is a small value, Lu Shu was the kind who knew how to live his days and would never let go of even a +0.1. Perhaps this was the fabled, even the flesh on a mosquito's leg is flesh? At this point, including the students of Daoyuan class and Lu Shu, there were a total of 12 people gathered here. A young man emerged from the group. Someone recognized him and called out softly, "Wei Qianni." "It's so good to have you with us." Lu Shu looked up. "Isn't this Wei Qianni the person I saw previously at the dining table, surrounded by his fans like bees to honey? Perhaps this is the prodigy endowed with Class A qualities?" Wei Qianni merely nodded. "I am Wei Qianni, Class A potential. My junior Class D capability should be the highest among everyone present here. It's only right for all of us to keep a lookout for one another in the remains, but it isn't good for us to squabble when it comes to discussion. How about we 12 form a group with me as the group leader?" Lu Shu nodded. This teenager is pretty clear-headed. He knows how to use his endowment and capabilities to gain an upper hand, on top of possessing a certain organizational talent. To have someone standing out, Lu Shu was of course happy to paddle along. He immediately stood forward. "All of us agree. Wei Qianni, you shall be the group leader." Everyone looked at Lu Shu in surprise. "Why on earth did you agree on our behalf?" However, Wei Qianni was no fool either. Seeing support, he quickly continued, "We must first choose a way forward. Anyone has any good ideas?" A classmate said, "Let's follow the sun." Everyone looked up at the sky, only to see towering trees blocking out the sun, leaving just slivers of sunlight through the leaves. How can one follow the sun like this? Wei Qianni shook his head. "We can't follow the sun." Suddenly, he turned to Lu Shu, who had supported him just now. Subconsciously, he warmed to him verbally, hoping to draw Lu Shu into his own clique. "Friend, what do you think?" Lu Shu did not expect this guy to suddenly ask him. Unfortunately, he had not been listening to Wei Qianni and had been focused on observing the surroundings. What did they say? Following the sun doesn't work. Lu Shu gave a deep sigh. "In that case, how about following the moon?" From Wei Qianni's distress, +199. From Mommy House distress, +199. What is this crap about following the moon? Shall we eradicate you in the name of the moon? Even the sun cannot be seen, much less the moon? Wei Qianni was slightly disappointed. What he initially thought was a potential ally turned out to be a total idiot. Lu Shu was not the least bit concerned. However, he did discover that the distress value of this bunch of kids was surprisingly easy to earn. Lu Shu had flipped through the remuneration record and could now be sure that this newly founded team did not contain any spy. To be honest, he had already thought about this prior to entering the remains. Even though the heavenly network of Yuzhou already had its spies hiding within Eliminated, nothing had happened in Qingzhou and Lu Shu would not be surprised if there were a few hiding inside. External forces did not try to openly invade this time, but one could never guarantee no accident could happen. Lu Shu did not have the habit of keeping any spies around. How about we first advance in the direction of the hill? Who knows? We may be able to have a clearer picture of the whole terrain at the top. This would be of great help to our future decisions, Wei Qianni remarked after pondering for a moment. His thought process is right. One should first be familiar with the general terrain of this remains. Lu Shu remarked suddenly, why don't we find someone to climb to the treetop first? Everybody suddenly had their gaze locked on him. The whole forest went quiet in that instant. Wei Qianni had a toothache just now, why did you not say earlier? From Wei Qianni's distress. This friend provided a good suggestion, so, who shall go climb? Despite it being a question, Wei Qianni's eyes were already on Lu Shu. Everyone turned to gaze at Lu Shu, but he merely feigned nonchalance and looked at another boy beside him. Why are you looking at me? Thought the boy sorely. This friend here, since you are the one to suggest, how about you go up first? Isn't it better if all of you go ahead? Lu Shu glanced up at the thick forest cover. It was impossible to know if there were any funny things hiding within. He chuckled, what will happen if there's any danger up there? Wei Qianni. So, we aren't afraid of danger? From Wei Qianni. From.
What does it mean to be happy? 'Cause it looks like we all don't know. Glass half full or empty, and we just putting on the show. Try to look to the heavens.